Thanks everybody for joining us today. We have obviously Bryce Williams with us here, and we will get started with questions. Jacob, we'll let you get us started. Go ahead.
Bryce, how you doing today?
How you doing?
Good, good. Hey, I want to talk to you about your shot blocking ability. You're not 6'10", 7'2", even 6'8". Where does this shot blocking ability? Where'd you kind of develop this at?
Um, I didn't go to a very good, I'm gonna say, basketball school where we played the best competition. So I was playing like below. I wouldn't say bad kids, but like below average, and I was kind of the tallest out there sometimes. So when they shot, I could go get it anywhere. And like with steals, like with the steals at the end of the games and stuff, my anticipation is just fast, and my fast twitch muscles, I'm quick and be able to jump with anybody. So there's not really a shot that's out of my reach to me, really.
Do you have a favorite shot block of this season so far?
Um, I haven't really looked at them. I say the most fun ones is when they're on a fast break and think nobody's coming, come block it. So yeah, that would be my favorite. But I haven't really looked at all of them.
I mean, you're blocking guys like David McCormick or Kevin Samuel. These guys are big, big guys that you're coming up and blocking their shots. How much do you think that surprises them?
Um, I think it surprises them a lot. I say at the end of the day, we both got to get to 10 feet. That's the goal. So no matter how you jump, no matter how low I jump, I just got to get to 10 feet. So just meet them there, and whatever happens, happens. I'm not scared to get dunked on. So that's really what makes me jump for everything. If they dunk on me, it happens. But nobody's done it yet, so I'm gonna keep doing it.
And finally, for me, when did you start being able to jump like that? Was it early high school? Was it late? When was it?
I didn't really play basketball until ninth grade, so I didn't really try to dunk to like 10th, 11th. So I would say maybe 11th, 10th or 11th, yeah.
Thanks, Bryce.
Well,
Next question from Frank Bonner. Go ahead, Frank.
Hey Bryce, when we talk about clutch moments, a lot of times the last second shot gets the notoriety, but you've had a lot of defensive clutch moments down the stretch for OSU. How much pride do you take in being able to be that player who can get those key stops in late moments?
I love it. I'd rather win the game on defense any day. Like I know the shots, everybody grow up wanting to hit shots, but I'd rather get those steals to where game is over as soon as I touch it. So I just try to anticipate and watch the thrower's eyes, and most of the time, my God-given talent just helps me get to the ball.
Coming into the season, did you know that was going to be part of your role down the stretch to get those key stops like that?
I knew I was gonna have to do more than I have, just because me being older. I just knew coach was gonna put me in those positions to do that, and with Cade being on the floor, it helps me play with way more freedom. Nobody's worried about me, so I can make those plays like that.
Appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
Our next question is from Marshall Scott. Go ahead, Marshall. Marshall, are you there? I am seeing another hand raise. Let's go with Chris Becker, and we will come back to you, Marshall.
Hey, Bryce. Coach Boynton's doing a thing on Twitter and Instagram of posting 28 notable African-American during Black History Month. Have you guys talked about that as a team? And if so, how important is it to, share that history for, younger people growing up to know?
He preaches it all the time. He teaches me new things I didn't even know about some days. Before we watch film, we watch little clips and things. But I think looking back at what the people did for us to be able to play how we play now, and giving us the freedom and just the understanding, I think it's beyond words. It's way more things I still got to learn from him. Like he teaches us not even basketball things. He teaches us how to grow up down the road. He teaches us what we're gonna need, how to think, and just knowing all that information helps us on and off the court, really.
How special is it to have a coach like that who, focuses on, building players as people also, like, and basketball?
It makes you want to play hard for the guy. It makes you want to help him in any way you can, any way you want. He's a role model in so many ways he doesn't even understand. I would say before I even got here, he was teaching me things on my visits and just open and thinking outside the box. And it's just hard to explain what his mental is. And I just thank him for all those things.
Thanks, Bryce.
Yes, sir.
Marshall, I think we have you back. You want to give this one a go?
Yeah, let's see if the snow will not mess up my internet anymore. But Bryce, you were talking earlier about your athleticism. Was there a worry whenever maybe you got to Ole Miss or whenever you got to Oklahoma State that wasn't going to transfer over to the Division I level, that maybe everybody was going to be as athletic as you? And when did you kind of figure out that you were still more athletic than everybody?
I figured out when I got to Ole Miss, and before the season we did like a pro day where we do the verticals and the shuttles, and my numbers were high enough to where if I would have gotten a draft, I would have been like 6 in the vertical, 6 throughout the whole draft. So that day right there just let me understand that I could play, run, and jump with anybody, no matter the height or the weight.
Gotcha. And I don't know if you've answered this yet when I was gone or not, but how has the team kind of responded since Monday? You've obviously had a long week to kind of prepare for these next few games. How has the team responded?
Coach gave us a message. He gave us a message that we won't forget. He's so emotional. He cares for us, man. It's just crazy. We've been practicing, I say, our best 2 days, not of the year, but probably out of the year for sure. I think when we come out tomorrow, it's going to be a different team. We have a different mindset. We have tunnel vision on the win. That's it.
What kind of were some parts of that message that Coach gave you?
I can't. I don't even think I want to share it. He just. I say this. He just wants us to be. He wants us to have our own identity, like he always speaks. He wants us to rebound. He wants us to play defense. He wants to get out and run. And he wants the other team to know that if you come in the gym, you're gonna have to play 40 minutes, like the whole 40, not 39 minutes and 2 seconds, the whole 40 minutes.
There are sometimes after like a loss, a coach can either be mad or kind of like understanding and push you guys forward. Was there some anger? Was it more so just like, hey, let's get better? What kind of was the attitude of it?
Well, before he even came in the locker room, we were all talking. Like we lead each other just as much as he leads us. Like before he even get in the locker room, we're in there talking about the game, what we're about to do tomorrow in practice, what we need to do, what they beat us on, and we just grind on those things. And this week has been rebounding, defending the ball, and no turnovers because we had a lot of careless turnovers. Yeah.
I appreciate it, Bryce.
Next question from Garen Emig, Tulsa World. Go ahead, Garen.
You doing all right, Mr. Williams?
Yes, sir. How you doing?
I'm good. You staying warm?
No, sir.
Speak for all of us, man. Hey, I know the NCAA tournament, right, is the the big prize when it comes to a college season. But I do want to ask, how important is it for you and the team to get to play in the Big 12 tournament?
I think it's very important. It's everyone, whoever playing college basketball, is their goal to get to the tournament, And we're still young, Nobody's really been there before out of us except for maybe Ice, and I don't even know if he went there. But we all want a taste of that. We all want to get there, and we're working hard. Tomorrow we're gonna show that we need to get there.
That's going to require, when you guys go on the road for the postseason, everyone, obviously being in as much of a bubble as possible and taking good care. Are you used to that when you guys hit the road? Is that second nature to you now, or is it?
I love road games. I love our fans, but I love road games. It's just something like when you hit a shot or you make a play and the whole gym is silent, and the whole gym is against you. So just to hush them up, and that's a great feeling. But playing at home, that's a great feeling too. But I'd say the road is a little more better, in my opinion.
Yeah, bubbling up at the hotel, that has that gotten old? Being careful, safe, and all that.
The only thing is old is this weather, man. I can't stand it. I'm sorry, I can't stand this cold for nothing.
Wait till you get to be my age.
I hear you. Everybody telling me that.
You're supposed to be young and resilient, man. You can't be saying that yet.
Nah, we don't have this in Florida, so
That's right. Yeah, I hear you. All right. Good luck dealing with it. All right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Jacob, do you have a follow-up? Go ahead.
Bryce, you mentioned everyone's against you on the road. The last 2 games, Cade has kind of heard the overrated chants and things like that from fans. I think there's some good and bad in that, in my opinion, because I think he's missing that element, and you guys are to have beat an enemy somewhere, and that's part of the fun of college basketball. But how has he handled it?
He handled it way better than I expected to. As soon as they say overrated, he's still getting us into plays. They're not even there. We're it's us on the road, you know. It's us against the world when you're in another team's gym. So as soon as they do that, it's like they're saying overrated to all of us because he's with us. It's not him alone. He's not out there alone. And we're gonna back him up whenever it's needed.
I thought it was great that even Bill Self said the Kansas fans shouldn't have chanted that at him. That was pretty funny.
It's his opinion. It is what it is.
Yeah. So, back to Mike for a minute. What does it mean to have a coach that A, looks like you, and B, goes out and marches and does things like that, like Martin Luther King and stuff? What does that mean to have a coach like that?
It shows you that no matter the color, you can be how you want to be. You can lead how you want to lead. He teaches us not to be a follower. Like, don't follow this man. Do you? Let them follow you. You be a leader. You know, it's always that. It's we always looking back at history, like Martin Luther King. It's just little things you can't explain. You have to be there to see. You know.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Thanks, Bryce.
You're welcome.
We probably have time for one more follow-up. Go ahead, Marshall Scott.
Yeah, Bryce, you've been asked this before, but obviously with the NCAA allowing an extra year for you guys, you're a senior. Is that something that you put much thought into yet? And whenever you do think about it, what are some takeaways that you're kind of going to be weighing with your options?
Can you ask it again for me?
Yeah, so with the NCAA giving an extra year to players, you're obviously a senior, so that would mean coming back to school another year. Is that something that you've thought about yet? And whenever you do think about it, kind of what are going to be some things that you're weighing?
I thought about it a lot. Fans ask me about it a lot. It's a hard decision, you know. I hate school so much. It's ridiculous. But I'm gonna keep it 100 with you guys. I'm still debating. Coach Mike and the coaching staff and the players, all this family culture, it helps. It makes me want to come back. But I don't have no straight answer for you. The school is my enemy.
I gotcha. Thanks, Bryce.
You're welcome. That's 100.
Bryce, we appreciate that, and we'll let you get to it. Appreciate you joining us today.
Yes, sir. Y'all have a good day.
We'll be right back with M.A. Moncrieffe.
You gotta keep it 100, you know.
There we go. Well, M.A., we appreciate you joining us. We'll get right to questions. Our first one's from Jacob Unruh. Go ahead, Jacob.
M.A., how are you today?
Doing well. How are you?
Good. This weather, is this more like home? What is this for you?
Yeah, that's all everybody's saying to me. It's Toronto weather out here. We got Toronto weather in Oklahoma, but you know I'm used to it. I got my big winter jackets and all that, so I'll be all right.
How was your foot? What were you dealing with, and how do you feel?
It was an ankle injury. You know, I've been just college tweaks and stuff, and I hurt it pretty bad at TCU, and I was able to get through it throughout the game, but you know, once I settled down, it just wasn't. I wasn't able to play on it versus Texas, and you know, our training team did a great job to get me back for Kansas and be healthy to play just going forward. So you know, I'm doing well now. Everything's fine with it, but it was just a pretty bad sprained ankle.
How tough was that Monday night coming back from a sprained ankle that quick?
It was, you know, I felt confident on it. You know, shout out to our medical team. Like I said, they did a great job. So you know, I wasn't really playing too hurt. You know, I was good to go. And as of right now, I'm completely healthy. So,
what do you feel like you guys can do better against bigger guys like a Samuel, a McCormick, guys like that?
For sure. It's tough for us just being a smaller team, like obviously, but with guys like that, we just I feel like the first time we played McCormick, we let him get too comfortable early on in the game, and he obviously hurt us down the stretch against them the other day. I felt like we did a good job at first, but throughout the game, he was just getting too deep. Like he was just getting too deep of seals, and he was in his comfort spot, scoring around the rim. And, that's something we definitely got to take away. Just denying the post, denying those easy catches in there. That's really that. That's what we've been working on these past couple of days. I don't know if we'll see a dominant big like that again going forward, but we'll be ready for those guys if we ever see them again down the road in Big 12 conference thing play. So that's all we've been working on, just denying those easy catches.
And you get Ice down there defending him. How impressed are you with Ice's versatility the more you see it up close?
Yeah, he's definitely one of the most versatile players I've ever played with. He's a starting point guard last year, and now he's guarding David McCormick this year. So it's crazy how versatile he can be. And yeah, it's evident. It's evident he can do everything on the floor, really.
Awesome. Thanks, MA.
Next question is from Frank Bonner of the Tulsa World. Go ahead, Frank.
Hey, MA, you were putting together a really strong stream of 4 games there before you got your injury. I guess how frustrating was it to have to halt that stretch you were having?
Super frustrating. Like you said, I had come out some good games. I don't want to. The game against TCU, I felt like it was a double, but ultimately, I don't feel like I played great. I don't feel like I did the things I needed to do to help my team win that game. Looking back at film, if you look at the numbers and stuff, it looks good on paper. But it was a stretch of good games. For my confidence going forward. But I feel like it was definitely frustrating. But ultimately, I couldn't be too frustrated because we had a great win against Texas. So that was what was most important to me.
So how do you kind of, I guess, mentally come back into it and try to pick up where you left off?
These past practicing. These past couple, I've had some really good practices. I feel, and I don't feel like I've missed a beat. I feel like I'm right back where I left off before I was hurt. So, just having great practices and getting back into the swing of things.
So you feel about 100% now?
Yeah, for sure.
Appreciate you.
Our next question is from Marshall Scott. Go ahead, Marshall.
Yeah, Bryce was talking about kind of the message from Coach going into this long week. He mentioned finding an identity. Kind of what did you take away from Mike's message, and how do you think the guys are responding to it?
Finding an identity?
Yeah, just finding an identity and kind of what Mike's been telling you guys after the loss on Monday.
Yeah, that's what he's been preaching throughout the whole season. Who do we want to be? And it's getting later now. We have to make a stand for that. Who we really want to be and what kind of team. How do we want to shape the rest of our season out? And as far as the message he's been giving us, he's really just been saying, it's getting down to crunch time in the season, so we gotta start making things happen now. As far as that, we gotta be great every day. We can't really afford any more lackadaisical days. We just have to be great every day with our efforts, our attitude, everything. So that's pretty much been the message.
As a guy kind of looking at your guards from the outside, or I guess the inside out, whenever you see them struggling to shoot, kind of how do you see them respond to that?
Shoot, Kansas, I don't think we shot it well. Obviously, it was evident, but it's not like we've just been struggling a whole bunch. I think they just had a poor shooting game against Kansas, from what I've seen. So that's not really a big issue. Just keep shooting.
I appreciate it, man.
We've got time for a follow-up or two, if there is one. Garen, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Mr. Moncrieffe, you doing okay?
Doing well.
Good. Where does the Big 12 tournament rank in terms of importance to you? I suppose it's not as big a deal as playing in the NCAA, right? That's the big prize. But would you like to go to Kansas City and take your shot there?
Well, I feel like this is from Coach Mike. We can only control what's in front of us. So, I don't want to look too far down the road, but what's most important to us right now is taking care of the next game. And after we finish, conference play, Big 12 tournament is going to be the most important thing for us. We can't look too far down the road. So, we just got to take it a game at a time. And once we finish conference play, the Big 12 tournament's going to be bigger than the tournament. And once we get to whoever, the tournament's going to be the biggest. So we got to take it one game at a time. We can't look too far down the road.
Did you ever watch like championship week, tournament week on ESPN when you were growing up? Was that a big deal to you?
Sure, definitely. Huge deal.
Yeah. So you'd like to be a part of something you grew up watching, I guess, in that regard, maybe, huh?
That's all we've been talking about all season long. That's what our efforts been towards. So that's what everything's going towards. Be a part of that this year. Great. Just make history.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anything else for MA? Awesome. Well, we appreciate you joining us, and thank you, sir. Have a good one.
Appreciate it. Appreciate y'all.
Right back with Coach Boynton. Perfect. We appreciate you joining us. We can get right to questions. Jacob, if you'd like to get us started, go for it.
Mike, how are you today?
I'm doing well, trying to stay warm as best I can.
Yeah, we asked Bryce earlier, and he said he's failing at staying warm.
He does not like the weather. But at this point, I'm not sure how much we can blame it on Florida because even our Texas guys are having a hard time. I think the only one who's comfortable right now is Matthew Alexander Moncrieffe. So
yeah, he said he's got his big puffy coat and he's ready to go. It's miserable over here. But hey, I know the other night you talked about possibly resting Ice. What is your plan with him moving forward?
He didn't practice yesterday. He did very little today. I don't know yet. I think we'll make a decision. We'll see how he feels in the morning. But I don't know. We'll be ready to play. But I don't think the decision's going to be made until tomorrow morning.
You mentioned the best thing is for rest for him. Getting him that rest this week, do you think that has already helped? Has it made a difference? What do you think?
It's hard to say. It's lingered on long enough that I think it's still bothering them to a certain degree. So, try to keep the big picture in mind, right? And the big picture is, can we get him to his best? And whenever that is, that's probably best for our team.
You gave Farron the time to recover, and he obviously had a little surgery, but that's encouraging when you see Farron come back the way he's played because he's played pretty well too. So you gotta. Is that in the back of your mind when it comes to Ice too, seeing how a guy recovers like that?
Yeah, I mean, we've done this with several guys. We hadn't always publicized it, but I remember going my first year as head coach to Lawrence without Tavar Shine and playing at Arkansas and having to play Trey Reeves in the first half of a basketball game. And you just do what you got to do to manage the season. I think that's one thing that's kind of been throughout this year, COVID, rightfully so, has just dominated every conversation. Well, getting through a college basketball season is always a challenge. The other things didn't go away this year. The injuries, the slumps, the psychological confidence, all those things still exist. Just that we ask the kids to really deal with all that stuff on their own because all we're focused on is making sure we don't have COVID so we can play the games. And it's the reality of it. We understand it, but that's just part of what we're dealing with. And so to answer your question, the rest I think is important. And we're going to try to get him as healthy as we can so that we can try to, have him back as healthy as possible when he does play.
What's kind of been the message to the team throughout the week after you look at the film and everything?
The message to the team has been that, there's still a lot of basketball here in front of us. It's a big game. Don't look at the record or they've gotten better. They continue to get better. And it's going to be a hard-fought game here. They had Texas on the ropes on Tuesday night. They played well in Lubbock last week. Again, I don't want to discount. We lost. Kansas beat us. They got a good team and a Hall of Fame coach. But that, in my fourth year, the expectation of some is that we should have won. In Lawrence is, I would say, we moved this thing in the right direction for a decent amount of time so far. We got a lot more work to do, though.
Thanks, Mike.
And our next question from Marshall Scott. Go ahead, Marshall.
Yeah, Mike, I haven't looked at the numbers necessarily, but you guys have played, it feels like, on Monday more often this year than you have in any of your other years. What is the difference in schedule as far as practice and in terms of weeks, in terms of the week goes? Like, is it that much different that you're playing on, 2 games in 3 days, or what's kind of the difference?
So there's a dichotomy to it, right? You get the benefit of getting your midweek game early in the week, and you can manage the week a little bit better heading in, but you do kind of go into sped up prep mode for your Monday game. I know we got one more that we announced Tech as a Monday game, I think. And I think that's just a product of the TV people made a decision, and we got a guy who they want to have on the network. So there's nothing I can do about it. We'll continue to recruit guys like that, and if that means I have to continue to get better at coaching on Saturday, Mondays, then so be it.
And we talked last week about the West Virginia game that's still not rescheduled. Is there any update on how that's going to go?
Not at the moment. I've heard nothing of the sort. I would hope that we'd hear something soon. I mean, I say there's a lot of basketball in front of us because I believe that, but it does move fast. And so it's not like a trip to Morgantown is just to hop on a bus and go. So we need to get some talks going about it.
Appreciate it.
And the next question is from Frank Bonner. Go ahead, Frank.
Hey, Mike, how's it going?
Great.
Bryce obviously takes a lot of pride in getting stops for you guys down the stretch. Would you say that having a player who can do that defensively is just as important as having a player who can hit the game winner for you?
Yeah, I mean, they're equally important, right? The game is played that way. If you ask me whether I want to be up one and have to get a stop or down one and have the ball, certainly depending on the personnel on my team, I'm probably going to say down one with the ball late in the game.
I guess, to Bryce, sometimes in order to be down one with the ball, you have to make the stop on the other end. I guess, how good is it to know that you have a player in Bryce who can give you that opportunity to be down one with the ball?
It's critically important. I mean, every team needs somebody that they can count on to, in case they've got several really good perimeter players, one who can really get going from three, and Nigel Pack. He's a guy we need to have our minds and eyes on at all times because he's made, I think, 5 or more threes multiple times, and I think he made 8 in one game. So he's a big time shooter, and not just Bryce, but Avery and Rondell. All 3 of those guys take a lot of pride in the defensive end, and we're going to need them all to be ready to go and guard him and McGurl because, they haven't won, but they've been right on the brink here lately, and we got to make sure we do our jobs on the defensive end and not give them a whole lot of confidence.
And then MA sounds like he's pretty back at 100%. Are you going to, play him as usual, or are you still going to try to ease him into the game and see how it goes?
No, I mean, that was part of it, right? Saturday, quick turnaround. He was able to give us a little bit, not super effective. And then he's had this time here to continue that rest process like we talked about ice. I think it's been good for him. He's practiced full go here the last few days, and I'm looking forward to seeing how he responds to coming back and being able to go without any limitations.
Appreciate you.
Our next question is from Dean Rule. Go ahead, Dean.
Hey, Coach, there seems to be a recent trend on broadcasts of your guys' games from, guys like Fran who say that Cade is not, he's too unselfish in the first half. He's not aggressive enough. Do you think that's a fair assessment of his play?
Fair? I don't know if I can judge whether it's fair or not. Cade does what we ask him to do to try to help us win. I don't know this because I don't look at all the numbers, but Monday's game may have been his least efficient game. He took probably one of the highest number of shots that he took in a game Monday, and he had 7 turnovers. So we need him to be efficient, help us win. Fran's got his opinion. He's free to have him. I respect that he works hard at this. He's seen a lot of really good players, but Cade needs to make sure he's worried about doing what his team needs for us to win, and he's been pretty consistent at that. And if he is more efficient shooting the ball and doesn't turn it over, I feel good about it. And whether that means he's more aggressive in the first half or second half, not as concerned. What we need to make sure we're doing is defending a whole lot better, because our defense was absent, especially in the paint on Monday in Lawrence.
Thank you, Coach.
Next question is from Chris Becker. Go ahead, Chris.
Hey, Coach. These first 12 days of February, you've posted an influential person for Black History Month each day. Kind of, how did that come about? And, you know, how important is that to you to teach the team and then people also like outside the team about this?
To whom much is given, much is required. I'm fortunate to be in a position where sometimes people listen to what I say. And so I'm conscious of the fact that I have an opportunity to make people aware of things that maybe they just didn't know for whatever reason. And again, I say this as somebody who majored in African-American history in college. There are several of these postings that I've made that I myself am just learning about at 39 years old. And so anytime we have an opportunity to promote the diversity of our country, the contributions that people of all races, but certainly during Black History Month, that Black people have made to our country, I think it's important that I take that opportunity and am serious about bringing to light some of those things. Had no idea that a Black man created the stoplight and the gas mask. And at 6 years old, I have a 5-year-old daughter. I can't even put any context to thinking that my daughter would have to be walked into a school by federal marshals. Like, that doesn't even seem like it would make sense at any point. And so Ruby Bridges' story is really important that we let people know. We've come a long way. Things are a lot better than they were then, but there's a lot more that we need to do so that we don't go backwards and recreate some of those really, really horrific times in our country's history.
Thanks, Coach.
A follow-up question from Jacob. Go ahead, Jacob.
Mike, you mentioned, and we've talked about this, I think, in the past a little bit about you studying African-American studies, and that's your degree and stuff. How did that change your perception of things and shape you as you went on your coaching journey?
Man, that wasn't my intent. My intent was to get a master's in business at the University of South Carolina. It's part of the reason I went to school there. I got one of the best business schools in the country. And I took a math class, a trigonometry class, my freshman year at South Carolina. And I vowed that I would never take another math class. And so the business aspect of getting the degree was kind of going to be difficult. So one of my best friends, a guy named Christopher Levy Johnson, he was a professor in African-American studies, asked if I would be interested in learning a little bit more about history. He gave me a book called Makes Me Want to Holler by Nathan McCall. And I read it in about 12 hours. And I came to class the next day and told him that I wanted some more books to learn. And that's kind of how I got into it. And it shaped me because I was in Columbia, South Carolina, right? Not the most diverse place on the planet either. And in the South, where at the time, the Confederate flag was still flying above the State House, right? And not till even a few years after that, they decided it was a really good idea to take it from the top of the State House to the ground floor so people could touch it. And since, I guess since the Charleston church shooting a few years back, they've totally removed it. And, all those things I'm very aware of. And I feel like I have a responsibility to continue to, do better myself, right? To learn more about that history, but to have an opportunity to teach guys what we've been and what they should be so much more grateful now than then. I'm thankful to Leonard Hamilton because he was, in a way, the guinea pig for me. Right. And I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be the first, but I'm the second. And now I'm the second. Someone else is going to have an opportunity, hopefully, and not lose an opportunity because of things that I've done. So I take it very seriously. I think it's part of my responsibility as a man, let alone being a coach, as a man to do things the right way and to then have my own son have somebody that he can be proud that was his dad while he was here.
Thanks, Mike.
TJ Eckert. Go ahead, TJ.
Coach, you brought up poor defense at Kansas. I think we've talked about lack of physicality a lot too, and I know those are two big things for you. Playing a Kansas State team that's kind of their trademark, and it's your trademark as well. Is this kind of an identity game for you guys, trying to get back to that?
Very much so. Always has been playing against Bruce Weber's teams, and I'm gonna take a minute and give him some credit. I've been where he is, going through a really tough season. They've lost several in a row, but his team has continued to get better. They played, like I said, really well at Tech last week. They had the ball twice, down 3 against Texas on Tuesday with 15 seconds to go. So that they've continued to play well is a credit to him and his staff, that they've kept a young team in the right frame of mind. But this is certainly going to be an identity game. If it's a slugfest and it's a 50 possession game, probably favors them. If we can get stops and get out in transition and take care of the basketball a lot better than we have 3 out of the last 4 games, I feel better about our chances of winning.
Thanks, Coach.
Follow up from Frank Bonner. Go ahead, Frank.
Hey, Mike, every Black History Month, there are certain facts and individuals that we learn about that people have never heard of. Do you think you doing what you're doing on social media may encourage people to intertwine some of this knowledge in their usual historical facts beyond Black History Month to encourage people to kind of dive into that on their own, outside of February?
I'll be honest, Frank, I don't know. And I don't want to say I'm not concerned, because I do care, but I can only do my part, right? And I think that's the thing we've got to try to figure out is, can whoever it is, our educational system, right? How could I major in African-American history and never hear about Ruby Bridges' story? That seems impossible to me, right? So, I mean, you get into your major classes, that's all you learn. And you learn about it in different areas and different movements. And I never heard of her story until about 4 years ago. I don't play golf, so there was really no reason for me to know that a Black man created the golf tee. And he was a dentist. And I knew about Thurgood Marshall because some of it involves the law and the history of changing laws and all that stuff. But everybody's got to take a part in this. If we're really going to be a unified society where people look out for one another, then we can't hide away from the history, right? We need to learn about it so that we don't repeat it in this most negative way.
Thank you, Mike.
Garen, go ahead, Garen.
Mike, is it important for the Big 12 to play a conference tournament this year?
Is it important? I don't know if I'm qualified to answer the question that way, because I don't know what makes it important, to be honest. That's a hard one for me to say. I understand both sides, the justification for both doing it and for not doing it. But that's a hard one for me to say whether it's important. I don't know.
Where do you fall, you personally, right now?
I don't know if I fall anywhere. Partly because I know I'm not going to have any say in it. Like someone's going to tell us whether we're going to play it or not, and they're not going to care how I feel. So I've tried not to think about it. If we do go up there, we'll try to win. If we don't, we'll hopefully in position that we still have basketball left after our last regular season game. I'll say this, and then maybe it kind of will lend itself to one way or the other. The kids is what it always comes back to for me. The experience for them and everything that they've been asked to commit to sacrificing. Let them play as often as we can. And if the league decides the tournament's not right, get through the regular season and just move on, then we've done what we said. Let them have a season, and then it's on to the NCAAs. If they decide part of playing the season is having a conference tournament, then I'm cool with either one.
Yeah. Let me ask you this real quick.
Sure.
Have you issues with the team and COVID this year? Have they fallen more heavily one side or the other between problems at home and problems on the road? Where have you run into the most to the issue, or is there? Could you even tell a difference?
I don't know. I mean, part of it because I don't know how to trace this stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not smart enough to figure out where where the infection originates, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So is it a kid who's gone home to see his mom and was traveling back, went to a gas station? Is it a kid who went to visit a buddy's, frat house or went out to Louis for dinner? I have no idea.
Yeah.
I know before the season started, we dealt with it. So we certainly know that at least back in the summer, it wasn't from traveling with our team.
Yeah.
But I don't know, since the season started, when we had our issues this time during the season, I don't know when it started or how it started.
Yeah. Okay. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Cody Nagel, did you have a question, Cody?
Yeah, Mike, you mentioned that you watch a lot of basketball games other than yours. I guess one thing that's kind of stood out throughout the country this year is a lot of the traditional blue bloods, or whatever you want to call them, seem to be struggling, and some might not even make the tournament. Have you put any thought into that, or have any guesses as to why those programs seem to be struggling this year?
I haven't thought about it. Obviously, I know they have. I've watched it. I watch a lot of basketball. It happens, right? And then you complicate that by it's hard to fix problems this year. I would say that's a big deal. So before, like, this summer was a big deal for the summer's always a big deal for our program. We get them for 8 weeks. We do a lot of things that stress the kids because, hey, we're trying to break our freshmen in. We're trying to build some camaraderie. We're trying to see who we can trust as leaders. And so we do crazy things. We make them run in sand pits. We make them run stadium steps. We get them up early in the morning and have them do buddy runs or whatever it is. Well, all that stuff was out the window. And then you get into the season, and when you have a break, maybe you go to main event, maybe you go to Top Golf, and you just get a chance to build some of that. And this year, where's the foundation for that stuff now? It's just wins and losses. So if you don't have maturity now, it's easy to splinter and fracture. And I think, if I was just guessing, that a lot of it has to do with just not being able to build a real teamship mindset going into the season and then dealing with adversity. And again, so we've been asked to just try to play the games. Well, kids are still struggling some in school. Kids are still having hard times at home. They have to deal with that stuff on their own. And we just have to get them together and practice and try to go play the game. Well, the other problems before COVID still exist.
Gotcha. Thank you.
And a follow-up from Marshall Scott. Go ahead.
Yeah, kind of just building off that. Do you think it's as important now as ever to be old? You kind of mentioned, not being able to build camaraderie is easy, but it feels like the last few years that's kind of been the theme, is that being old, it's better than the John Wall Kentuckys or the Duke teams of the past. Is being old more important now than it ever has been?
It's really important. I think being adaptable is probably a little bit better way to put it, because right now it is. The time will change again, right? There's this talk of another professional league coming up that maybe high school kids won't even have to worry about it going to college. And maybe you start weeding out the guys who are coming in with the one and done mentality. And you can build some guys who want to be in college for 2 or 3 years. And I think being older has always been better. We just seen enough young guys have individual success that people got enamored with having a bunch of young guys. Well, the truth is, a bunch of young guys, I think, have only won the championship 2 times. I think Kentucky and Duke both did it once, and they've been doing this for about a decade now. We've been young and we've stubbed our toes some. We're trying to get older, but it's still going to be trying to build recruiting class, 2 or 3 recruiting classes on top of each other, and maybe sprinkling the grad transfer here and there. And all of a sudden now you have some stability for long term.
And then you mentioned turnovers earlier. That's been an issue for you guys these last few games. Is that something you drill? Like, what kind of drills do you do to kind of avoid that? Or is that more kind of a mental thing? Like, hey, you don't need to try to make that pass.
Yeah, so that's part of the challenge going through when you're playing a bunch of games in a short amount of time. We play Wednesday, Saturday, Monday, practice, punishing in practice, holding guys accountable in practice. Once the game start, if they're all turning over, you can't take them all out. Somebody's got to play. But in practice, All right, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 12. We got 14 people on this call. We're a team. We're going to practice. We got 14 balls. If we have 14 turnovers in practice, the balls are gone. So if I had an hour and a half planned for practice, if there's an hour and 15 minutes left after the 14 turnovers, which happens like sometimes in a game, then we just run the rest of the time. And I've said this before. It boggles my mind still, and I was like this as a player. Basketball players, up and down. You know what they hate the most? Running. So that's what we've done last few days. Turnover, run, take the ball away. When we run out of balls, we're done practice, we can just run.
Gotcha. Appreciate it, Mike.
I think we've got time for one more. Danielle, go ahead.
Hey, Mike, just building off the last couple of questions. I guess when you look toward the future a little bit with recruiting, coming into this year, with that being cut short, at least you kind of had a basis with a lot of this class that you were bringing in. And now a lot more of it's going to be relied on film and not that human interaction that you're used to having to establish those relationships early, which you're so good at doing. I guess, is there any concern about that moving forward with some of the guys you're bringing in when you're looking at what COVID has already done to the programs?
Yeah, and I hope that I want to say this in a respectful way. The pandemic's been devastating for a lot of reasons, right? And I'm not trying to compare anything that I've gone through to what anybody else. I hadn't gotten sick. My mom got it, but she's okay. But I'll say this, the impact professionally on me, right? Everybody knows we took a pay cut. If you would just allow me to recruit, take some more of the money and let me go find some more kids, because recruiting during the pandemic has been a nightmare. And again, this isn't what other people have dealt with COVID, but not being able to develop relationships and see guys and know what they're about before we bring them in. It's been really, really challenging. And so, yeah, I wouldn't say I'm concerned. We still worked at it. We've been working the phones, but the way we recruit specifically, because it's been so much about getting out early and really developing strong relationships and doing that face-to-face, knowing what makes people tick, what their families are about. This has been a challenge for us, but we'll get through it. Everybody's dealt with this, so I'm not trying to make it worse for us, but it's certainly something that I certainly don't want to see continue on very long.
Has that concern been reciprocated on the other side as well? I know that, talking with especially spring sport coaches, we're having that concern fed down in the high school ranks from the player perspective. Is that the same for you right now? Even though we're in it and people are learning from it, we're understanding how you need to handle COVID a little bit better, or at least have a blueprint to kind of base things off of moving forward. But is there that concern reciprocated on the high school, on the player side, on the athlete side?
I don't know. I mean, I probably was speaking for them if I answered that there's been a little more of a panic, it seems. We probably had 3 or 4 guys that went to other schools that I think were wanting to commit to us back in the fall. And for a number of reasons, with this new NCAA rule, who we're going to have back, we just decided that we'd take our time and get it right. I know people would love for us to have 4 or 5 kids, have a whatever right here that can help us do the things on the court on signing day, like that, actually on the court when we need them to. Did I lose you guys?
Thank you. Thanks.
Oh,
no problem.
Coach, I think we're in good shape. We appreciate you joining us today, and good luck tomorrow against Kansas State.
Thanks a lot.